Hello, welcome year 8. Welcome to Mr. Chen's classroom. So today in science, we will be talking about physical and chemical changes. Alright, now let's look at lesson objective. So lesson objective number 1. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to learn about what happened during the expansion and contraction of matter. And number 2 is you will be able to identify the differences between physical and chemical changes. Alright, so pretty easy. So let's start. So matter, as you know, it is something that takes up space and also has volume. Okay, so pretty much including literally almost everything in this universe. And I'm gonna talk about the expansion and contraction of the matter. So bear in mind, this contraction and expansion only happen during the temperature of the substance is increasing or decreasing. Okay, only happen during that time. So let's look at the difference between the two. So expansion, when you look at the word expansion, what do you think of? Like, is it remind you of things getting bigger, while contraction is you literally curl up and become smaller. So this is exactly what happened in a substance. All right, expansion only happen when it is heated, while contraction happen when it is cool. When it is heated, that means you are giving them heat energy. All right, you're giving them energy, they become more active. Okay, they're literally bouncing off the wall. And in contraction, they loses heat energy. In this situation, they do not become colder by getting cold energy. Okay, there's no such thing as cold energy. They just loses heat. And when they're cool, they form, they curl up together. Their bond will start forming, and they will become more smaller. So in expansion, it takes up more space. Okay, the reason why it takes up more space, as you know, is because it literally gain more energy and just go everywhere bouncing. On the other hand, in contraction, it take up less space. Okay, the reason why it take up less space is because they're all congregated together, and literally due to the reason that lost energy, and when they lost energy, they're not as active anymore. All right, they still move, but they're not as much less active than before. And bear in mind, during expansion, the volume also increase, while in contraction, the volume decreases. All right, the volume decreases. That means take water for example. If you have 1 liter of water, when it is cold, which is undergo contraction, all right, when it freezes, which undergo contraction, you will realize the volume is a bit less than usual. And also when it is in water form, you have more volume of water. So on the other hand, when the volume increase, your density will decrease. All right, the reason why density decrease is because the each of the particles in the substance actually further from each other. So when it's further of each other, it is not as concentrated. When it's not as concentrated, we said the density has decreases. On the other hand, when it contracts, all the particles literally join to each other, and that makes it really sort of like crowded. When you have crowded, obviously it means the concentration is higher, which is your also means your density is a lot higher too. Alright, bear in mind they all happen it all happen with the same amount of particles, okay, both for this. Under the same amount of particles available at a given time, you will see a very different result when it is expanded and when it is contract. So some of the example of expansion including melting, evaporations, which is from liquid turn to gas, evaporation. And forgot to mention, melting is when solid turn into liquid. Okay. Now, sublimation. Sublimation is when a solid turns straight into gas. For example, your dry ice, which is your liquid, which is your solid carbon dioxide, turn into carbon dioxide gas straight away through this process. Not everything can do that. Okay, so the most notable one will be your carbon dioxide. And last one is boiling. So boiling pretty much give them a lot of heat for it to turn from liquid to gas. On the other hand, contraction, we have freezing, which is things turning from liquid to solid. Okay, as you see here, contraction, that means it loses heat energy, it cools down. When it cools down, the density decrease and the density increase but volume decreases, which turn into a solid. Okay, that's why it is so packed, so hard. And condensation is when gas turn into liquid. Alright, how you guys going so far? Hope you guys are on the same step as me, and please write down all the notes and ask me questions during the lesson. I'm gonna move into the second section now that you are been taught what is expansion and what is contractions. So next part we will actually talk about your next part we are actually talking about your physical changes and chemical changes, the difference. Okay, so in physical and chemical changes, they are actually very, very different. Physical change is when two things mix together, but then it does not form new substance, okay, or substances. Alright, does not form substance or substances. They are just blend together. They are still their own thing, but they do not form new substance. On the other hand, chemical changes is when two things undergo chemical change. When they are mixed together, they form new substance. Alright, some of the example for physical change. Some of the example for physical change involve something like if when you mix Smartie with M&Ms, you will realize M&Ms are still M&Ms and Smarties are still Smarties. Okay, however, in physical change, you do still get some changes. For example, change in shape or form. All right. This means the change between solid, liquid, and gas. Okay. Yeah. So the best example is your ice. When you change from ice into liquid, that means they undergo your physical changes. Okay. And they are reversible. That is the biggest thing you need to take out from here is you can actually reverse them, no problem. It's like you can turn water into ice again just by freezing them. That are all part of physical changes. Okay. However, you can't do that with chemical changes. All right. So when chemical change undergo that to form new substance, they can no longer reverse. Okay, they will no longer reverse, which is I need to add here irreversible. Sorry, let me spell it properly for you. Irreversible. So this involves burning a match or dye your hair. All right. So if you burn a match, obviously you can't it will never go back to the original match again because you burned them. Dye your hair, you can argue that you can dye it back to a different color, yes, but that still means you undergo a different sort of chemical change. Let's say you dye your hair from brunette to blonde, but you can still reverse it back. You can't reverse it back. All right, it will never go back to brunette again unless you dye it back to brunette. Yeah, you get me? So next thing to tell you will be what are some of the things you can notice in chemical changes, as in what are the things to look for or observe. The first thing that will come in mind will be seeing a change in colors. Okay, as you know, hair, when you dye your hair, you will see a change in color. That will tell you there is a chemical change. Another thing is you will be able to smell. Okay, smelling a gas or seeing bubbles. The third one is you can seeing a new solid. Okay, what we call them here known as precipitate, forming in clear solutions. Okay, so precipitate here means a solid things that is actually solid that you can physically see that are forming in a clear solution, in a chemical solution of some sort. All right, it is a very strong indication something different has been formed. And lastly, we have observing that energy is produced or absorbed in the form of heat or light. All right, so what this sentence means is things will suddenly becomes hot or cold. All right, so it suddenly changed because what happened is when they undergo a physical change or physical no sorry they when they undergo chemical change, they actually absorb the heat or release a heat. So as we know, when we release heat, what happens when you release heat like fire? When you start a match, it actually release a heat. So release heat, that tells you it is a chemical change. Or things like uh if you for those who have played sport and have unfortunately sprained their ankle, you will notice sometimes you are given a cold pack. So the cold pack is actually something that two chemicals were in a bag, and when you break the bag, as in the barrier between the two chemical, they start joining together, and when they start joining together, they absorb the heat from the surrounding. When they absorb the heat from the surroundings, means it get cold. When it get cold, that is when you can use to ice your ankles or your sprain area. All right, so I would like you to actually go and watch the videos again, because I know this is a long video. There are quite a bit of information in them. All right, you can actually break them into two parts and watch it. And please do write down any question that you don't understand, and I will see you in the next lessons. Thank you very much, guys. Peace. Bye.